part, which is I would say 3.5 over here, because before closing there's always selling, so 3.5 is selling. Now what selling does is selling increases the emotional certainty. So when you sell, you know, let's say the person over here says, okay, wow, that sounds good and everything, yeah, makes sense, you know. This means that logical certainty is there, is good, okay? Good. So he might be certain about your product logically, but emotion maybe not. Maybe he still doesn't trust you, or maybe emotionally he's just doesn't feel that it's right. He feels something is still off with it. But you see how I'm talking about feeling? Because he feels, right? So this is selling, right? Now in selling, what you're doing is you're increasing the emotional certainty. Exactly. You got it. That's what it's here for. Selling will increase the emotional certainty. Now, the way you can sell in some several different ways, but each way should be that emotionally it should make sense for the buyer to invest, right? So there is one way of selling is selling with a story. You could tell a story to the person. Oh,
so
sorry.
These are ways of selling,
Yeah, there are different ways. One of the ways is selling with a story. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that, for example, you know, have you ever heard about a great story? Have you ever heard about that? You know, like somebody's story, maybe, you know, you meet a new person and you ask this person, who are you, where are you from? And this person explains, you know, okay, I'm from whatever country, and I grew up this way, and then he explains half of his life, but at the end you'll be like, wow, this guy is a cool guy. You ever had that? This guy just sold you with the story. You know, I could say like, my name is Adam Whistler, I'm 22 years old, I started selling when I was 19. When I began, I was horrible fucking shit at it. But then what I did is that I started learning and I started practicing, and I did it every single day until I got the best in Europe. And today, as 22 years old, I'm training other salespeople around the world. You see, this would be a story. This would be my story to sell, for example, myself or my whatever services, you know. There are different stories, and you know, you can go into the details of it. What it should do is that every story should be emotional, should be relatable, okay, and it should have a message. So, for example, he says, why should I make business with you? You know, maybe the client says that. And then now, because you already know who is this guy, you know, you have a lot of data about him. You could actually remember somebody else who was very similar to this guy, and you could tell his story, this other guy's, and you could tell, okay, there was this other guy as well. He called us in, and then he was waiting for the deal for 5 years, and you know, he was exactly like you, and he did this as well, and he was also thinking in the same way. Why should I do this right now? And blah, you know, and then just make the prospect right now relate to the older guy who did business with you, right? Now, and you tell the older guy story, the story of the older guy, the past client, right? You tell the story of the past client, and then you also tell how this past client eventually made a decision to do business with you, and why it was worth it for him. And the only thing that this past client was regretting is that he didn't do it sooner. You see, so it has a message that goes across. And now the prospect is relating to it, because there's so many similarities between him and this other guy. They were both thinking about it. They were both about age 35. They both had kids. They both wanted to move to Europe to work. You know. But now he's relating it, and now he's getting he's getting a conclusion out of it, because you just told him a story of basically almost him, you know. And now he knows that he should do the deal sooner rather than later, because this other guy did it later and he was regretting it.
Yes.
Right?
I had one with him.
Look at that. You see, that's what I'm talking about. So something like this, you could actually write it down step by step, how you can explain it to somebody, his story, and make it like very emotional, make it very relatable. And then whenever somebody is objecting, like, I need to think about it, you can be like, look, I totally understand, but can I just tell you a story? The prospect says, yeah, sure, tell me. Okay, so there was this one guy, okay, and then you can explain the whole story. And then at the end, you know, you just tell him like, oh, wow, this guy regretted he had to think about it and he waited. And you see, this gives you an opportunity to again try and close the deal after you tell the story. You see, it's like a handling of objection. You see?
Mm.
Good. So this is one of the ways of selling, by the way.
Mm.
There's another way of selling as well when you sell with imagination.